The hike from Boca Tomatlan to Quimixto and the waterfalls beyond is my favorite hike in the Puerto Vallarta area. Incredible scenery from the fishing villages, rocky and sandy beaches, jungle to beach clubs and bars, plus a beautiful waterfalls at the end. You can do the entire hike or stop almost anywhere along the way and grab a water taxi back to Boca. The hike from Boca bus stop to Las Animas is approximately 4.6 kilometers, easily doable in 2 hours if you're a regular hiker. From Las Animas to Quimixto village is 3.3 kilometers, but much shorter in terms of timing, about 1 hour, since the trail is much easier than the first part. And then the hike from the Quimixto village itself to the falls is approximately 1.3 kilometers and takes 30 minutes. The hike starts in Boca Tomatlan, but if you're in Puerto Vallarta, you need to get there, and that is easily done by catching a bus for 10 pesos in the romantic zone at the corner of Constitution and Paseo Badillo. Very easy ride, takes about 25 to 35 minutes depending on the traffic. Boca Tomatlan is the last stop on the ride. Buses go anywhere from about 10 to 20 minutes, so it's easy to pick one up to go there, and it's easy to grab one coming back again. But Puerto Vallarta is the first stop on the journey, and Boca Tomatlan is the last stop, so it's very easy to catch a bus. Once you arrive at the top of the hill in Boca de Tomatlan, all you have to do is go down to the bottom of the hill until you reach the base. You'll find an inner harbor filled with boats. If you want to shorten the journey, you can grab a water taxi here. It generally costs you about 120 pesos currently in 2023, and they can take you to Las Animas or it can take you directly to Quimixto. It's up to you, or if you want, you can go all the way up to Yelapa. If you want to do the hike, which this video is all about, just go to your left and proceed about maybe half a kilometer and you'll find a bridge that will take you over the river. Once you're over the bridge, you'll hang a right again and follow the signs that take you to Las Animas. There might be signs as well that say Colomitos, which is the first beach along the way. There's multiple beaches along the way, and as I said, lots of different stops. So just follow the signs and you'll find it. What I really enjoy about this hike is the multiple sections of it. You start in the city and you walk along the river. You then walk through different people's homes, or I should say their front steps, because it seems like you're walking over their entranceways. And then from there you're going through a section where you're in the jungle overlooking the ocean. From there you start to walk along rocky coastlines and some beaches, and you'll pass a few resorts before coming to the city or the village of Las Animas. So lots of different landscapes, different types of scenery. It's always changing and it's always very, very interesting. So the first part of this hike is through the village and along the river, and you'll be able to see lots of different boats. Some of them are used for fishing, but a good number of them are now used as water taxis, taking tourists to the various beaches such as Las Animas, Quimixto, and also Yelapa.
Now these are the two homes I think you should have a good look at.
Spending money on this patio.
Yeah.
Spend the same money, can buy happiness, huh?
Yeah.
As you exit the mouth of the river, there is an actual lookout platform where you can look into the Bay of Banderas and also back into the mouth of the city, or Boca Tomatlan. It's a great little spot to stop and rest up for the next part of the hike.
Looks like it's rotted out.
So those domes, those circular, is that a kind of a Mexican?
Well, Spanish, Mexican too. They're, but it takes the heat out, I believe.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a higher ceiling.
As you leave the lookout platform, you'll continue along the trail and go up a number of steps. I think this is probably the hardest part of the entire hike. You have a little bit of a climb. It's not difficult. It's just a large number of steps till you get to the basically halfway up the mountain, so that you can walk along the trail there overlooking the coastline. You'll eventually come to a large downhill, which I think is probably the most challenging part of the entire trail, only because the steps are very uneven. There is some hand railing. Just take your time and you can make your way down to a beautiful beach called Colomitos.
This is Colomitos.
Colomitos is a very popular beach, both for tourists and locals. It's not that large, but it's beautiful, crystal clear green water, a nice little sandy beach. In the last couple of years, they've installed a bar right on the beach, and also there's a restaurant called the Ocean Grill here, very popular. A lot of people take boats from Boca and come to the Ocean Grill for dinner. I think you need reservations for this restaurant because it is that popular. I'm not sure it's open during lunch, but there is a walkway along the path that'll take you right to the front door, so you can check it out if you're so inclined. The only danger thing about this is that if you stop here, it's hard to get going and make your way to Las Animas. So when you're ready to leave the beach, just climb up the next hill. This is actually the second highest hill on the hike today, and probably the last major difficulty, in my opinion, of the entire hike. So just climb to the top, and now you'll be going through a little bit of jungle and a rocky coastline, a little bit lower than you were previously to the ocean. So great views, interesting landscape, and now you'll also start passing through some smaller beaches, and you have a chance to walk along those as you progress towards Las Animas. Along this section of the trail, you'll be walking along some beaches and past several different resorts. Some of them you'll go in front along the ocean side, and several of them you'll be walking around them. But very beautiful. Interesting to see how people like to live out here, especially at these more exclusive resorts. Very beautiful. In addition to resorts, you're also going to pass through several beach clubs. This particular one was put together a couple of years ago. It's probably the fanciest one along the way. You can stop in and have a drink or dinner. The food's quite great, and previously the prices were pretty competitive to that of Las Animas, but I suspect that once it becomes a little more popular and well-known, that those prices will be going up. Las Animas is only another 0.6 kilometers from this point, so you have a choice of stopping here for lunch or a snack or a drink, or you can take that or get that in Las Animas, where there is multiple clubs. There's probably at least 6 or 7 places there to choose from. This particular beach is fairly pristine. It's actually one of my favorites. A nice place to stop and swim if you're so inclined, just before you get to Las Animas. To get to Las Animas, you'll just have to go around this one last resort and go through a small little section of the town, and then you'll be there. Las Animas is a former fishing village, and now basically just a series of restaurants. What's nice about it is that you can stop any place for lunch there, and then they don't charge anything for your lawn chairs, or I should say your seating areas and tables, so you can sit out on the beach after you eat, enjoy the water, have a great swim, and the restaurants can also call you a water taxi, which can come right to the restaurant, or they have a pier there where you can be picked up to go back to Boca. That way you don't have to walk all the way back. It's one of our favorite things to do, is do the hike to Las Animas, stay on the beach, and then enjoy the day, and then grab a boat back. For this hike, we did not stop in Las Animas. We just continued along the beach and followed the trail. Just look for signs that say Quimixto. The trail is much easier from Las Animas to Quimixto than it is from Boca Tomatlan to Las Animas. So even though the distance isn't that much different, it's 3.3 kilometers versus 4.6. It takes about half the time to get to Quimixto. I think on this day, it took us about an hour and 5 minutes. I love this trail. It's fairly easy to navigate. It looks like horses use it quite regularly, so it's not that rocky. It's interesting in one other aspect is that you're basically walking considerably higher along the trail in respect to the ocean, so you get some pretty good views off the trail. Near the end of the trail, as you're approaching Quimixto, you have a fairly large descent down to the ocean. I really enjoy this section of the trail. I think it's probably the most picturesque of the whole hike. There's a big, large, rocky outcrop. You can walk around it on both sides as long as the tide is low. Great for taking some pictures, and the beach itself is also wonderful. They have a large resort at the end of this particular beach, which you have to pass through. I think it's called Zinlea, something like this, but it'll be the last resort, and then you'll descend along the trail and into the town. As I mentioned earlier, this is the last resort before you start getting into Quimixto. It seems to be more of a treat. I see a lot of people doing yoga here. They seem to have like a smoke or hot house as well. Looks like an interesting place to visit if you're so inclined. Anyways, you need to pass right through this resort. There's an easy path there. You're allowed to do this. And then you'll enter what I call Quimixto. You'll have to walk down some sort of dusty roads, and you'll have to cross a fairly large suspension bridge, which is a little bit wobbly but definitely safe. If you don't like bridges, the water level generally isn't that high here, and you can walk across it that way as well. Once you cross a suspension bridge, just continue along the path and you will come to a T intersection, which is in the center of town, or the main road from town, which if you go right will take you back to the ocean and a dock where you can catch a water taxi, or you can hang a left and head towards the falls. There's another suspension bridge there to cross, but again, if you don't like suspension bridges, you can just walk across the river there. It's generally not very deep. Once you walk across or the river or the suspension bridge, there's a well laid out path. It's actually been paved now about halfway through the falls, and the falls, as I said, is only about 30 minutes away, 1.3 kilometers, and it's relatively easy to get to.
And Mark, the graveyard is to your left. No, that's the graveyard.
There's a column.
Yep. The entrance to the graveyard. We walked all the way here for that.
As you approach the Quimixto Falls, you'll see a little bit of a sandy area, and the river. You'll have to cross the river. There's a small little falls just before it, but the big falls is just behind it. There is was a restaurant and a bar here. Unfortunately, with the last hurricane, the restaurant part of it is gone, but there are people still there at the bar, and they can serve you a nice cold drink. What we call, or what I call at least, is a place where I get my reward beer. Anyways, this particular falls, I think, is probably the nicest in Puerto Vallarta, and a great place to grab something to drink and also have a swim. They do have washrooms and also change rooms here, or a combination of both. They don't always have toilet paper, so I would recommend that you take toilet paper with you along this hike. One final bridge to cross, and then there's a nice seating area where you can grab a beverage and observe the falls. And also there's a small path just down rocks that you can climb down. It's not very difficult, and jump into the water and swim.
We'll get a tea. I think close to the water. It's going to be 4 of us, so. Sure, right there.
I like to get to the falls before 11 o'clock because I find after 11 there's a lot of tours coming in off some of the cruise ships, or just being promoted by Vallarta Adventures, and then it starts to get a little bit crowded there. It's not that popular a spot or well known, so it's not going to be overwhelming, but I do like almost having the entire falls to ourselves. Today the water was flowing pretty rapidly. It's not that difficult to swim in, but I was carrying a camera, which made it a little bit more of a challenge to swim up to the falls because the current was stronger. But by mid-January, February, it's just very peaceful. Still a lot of water going over. And when it's a little bit calmer, it's like super, super clear, and you can see a lot of fish in the water.
That's quite the current. A lot more than normal. Yeah.
We probably spent a full hour at the falls enjoying it. We were able to have some coconut there, by the way. That was the only food they offered at this time, but I'm sure they'll get the restaurant going back again and you can get lots of different things. We headed back to Quimixto. You can go there and there's some restaurants right in the town now, but I prefer going back towards the last resort along the, I guess it would be the furthest east part of the beach in Quimixto, and they have some beautiful beach clubs there and great restaurants. You can hang out for the day and they can call a water taxi to take you back to Boca from there. But on this day we decided to just head through the town right to the dock, and we waved down a water taxi, and the water taxi picked us up and took us to Boca. The price we paid for our water taxi back to Boca was 100 pesos each. Grabbing a water taxi off the pier in Quimixto is relatively easy. There's lots of boats going back and forth. You just got to wave one down. More than likely, they'll come to you asking you if you need a ride. We love grabbing the water taxi back. It's a little bit challenging if you did the hike both ways. Obviously doable, but that would make a long day. And to be honest with you, Part of the highlights of this particular hike is grabbing the water taxi back. The views, looking at the trail from the water side of what you went through is just spectacular, really enjoyable. There is one final choice for lunch or dinner that you can make, and that is right in Boca Tomatlan. They have a number of different restaurants right on the beach. The beach is actually quite nice as well. So if you just didn't want to eat in Quimixto, you have another opportunity to hang out and enjoy the area, and that is right in Boca before heading up the hill and grabbing your bus. And as I said before, the bus comes about every 10 to 20 minutes. You can also grab Ubers and taxis and head back to Puerto Vallarta that way.
Right where the house is over there, if we want to round it.
This is the bay side of the town of Boca Tomatlan. You can see there's a lot of boats here, water taxis as well. This actually on this little dock is where you would pick up your water taxi if you were so inclined to take it to one of the towns, either Las Animas, Quimixto, and so forth. The town is interesting, I would say beautiful, really enjoy it, and there's lots of restaurants here that you can get dinner at. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe.